The automotive industry is set for a revolution that will disrupt and reshape global business, threatening the survival of every organization. To make sure you survive and win in the new automotive game, Automotive Growth Expert Roberto Dal Corso has interviewed global experts from the automotive industry to identify the changes and the impacts that are coming to keep you ahead of the curve.
Hi everybody and welcome to the leading disruptive automotive trends from around the globe. Today we have a very special guest, an old friend, an old colleague, Francisco Albarran, or better known as Paco, all the way from Madrid. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Robbie, for inviting me.
Hey, it's my pleasure, and it's so good to catch up with you again. And I know that, we've known each other for many years. The way I've seen you is you've always been an absolute professional. You've been passionate about the automotive industry. You're passionate about your customers and the people you work and meet with. Tell us a little bit of how you got into the automotive industry.
Well, it was some time ago already. Basically, it was like 15 years ago. I started to work in the automotive industry for a very good company called Watco. It was kind of a relationship between my personal background and my educational background, because I am an engineer, most concentrated in electronics, and Watco produced and designed very interesting products based on electronics for braking systems. So this is why I started to work with them, and I was there for almost 4 years, taking care of sales in the aftermarket for a specific region of the country of Spain, which was the central part and the southern part. After that, we get to meet each other because I moved to Meriton, and I worked for Meriton for 9 years. 5 of them developing the market in Spain and Portugal, and the last 4 taking care of the business in the Middle East, Africa, and Turkey. And after this, I moved to my current position, and it's been 2 years since I joined Alltrax, and I've been developing the network of Alltrax in Spain and Portugal.
Yeah, but you've got a very interesting background, because from Watco to Meritor, even within Meritor, looking at Spain, developing the Middle East, now you're focusing on something from a slightly different perspective, because you're not necessarily selling hardcore products, axles and brakes anymore. But over the course of your career, what has made you successful?
Maybe you already in the introduction gave a small hint, and I might say that I am passionate. I am really passionate. I am really concerned about the needs of the customers, and in some way I have managed to be a good interface between the interest of our companies and the interest of the customers, which is very difficult sometimes, I have to say, but in some way I managed to find a good balance, a win-win solution every time.
Yeah. And in your different positions, you've learned different things all the time, but what is one particular learning that you think has been more important than anything else that you've learned? Where would that have happened?
I would say that specifically in the environment in which I live in, which is the aftermarket for commercial vehicles, you have to be very flexible. You have to be very open-minded, and you have never had to give something for granted. Okay, so that way you are able to adapt to change, to adapt to different customer requirements, different market requirements, different environment requirements. So being flexible is something really important.
Yeah, and I guess it's that flexibility that has given you the opportunity to move within companies, to move to different companies and always work on exciting projects that really make a difference.
Exactly, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And over the 15 years that you've been in, the automotive commercial vehicle aftermarket, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen?
Yeah, one of the most important changes in the aftermarket for the commercial vehicles is, according to my understanding, let's say that each time the importance of the manufacturer of the product, or the relationship between the manufacturer of the product and the distributor of the product, is becoming to a certain extent weaker. Mm-hmm. So let me try to explain this. At the beginning, when I started to work in this sector, the relationship between the distributors and the manufacturer of the product was very close. It was a relationship of really partnership. Okay?
Yeah.
A lot of years this has changed, and now the relationship is becoming more and more a clientele relationship, more than a partnership relationship.
Okay, so is relationships becoming more important or less important?
It is still important, but it's important in a different way. In the sense that also because of the changes in the competition in the market,
yeah,
the introduction of new actors every single year on every single product range, on every single distribution level, in every level of the distribution chain, let's say like this, that has made the relationship, I wouldn't say less important, but important in a different way. At the beginning, it was like really partnership. You couldn't live without the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And both parties were happy about that. And along the years, this has changed. And now you cannot live anymore just with one supplier, for instance. And sometimes you need to find more if you are a wholesaler, for instance.
Yeah.
And also, if you are part manufacturer, you cannot survive only with exclusive distributors, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that is very true. The world has become a smaller place and more open to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that absolutely makes things sometimes more complicated, sometimes more challenging, but at the end of the day, this is what is interesting also about this industry.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, jumping a little bit now to your current position, I know you've got a very exciting project and a mission for Spain. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. Well, I don't know if you know about Alltrax. Alltrax is a joint venture that was created in 2013 by three very important players in the commercial vehicle market, which was Bosch, ZF, and also Knorr-Bremse. And they decided to join to create a network of workshops around Europe. I personally joined this project 2 years ago, as I said at the beginning, and the intention is to look after the best in-class workshops for commercial vehicle, the specialists, willing to provide to the market with multi-brand service and multi-brand capabilities.
And now, as you go through and you start to roll this out, what are some of the challenges you're starting to find?
I have to say that since I joined the company, everything has been really smooth. The feedback that we've got from the very beginning from the potential partners of our network has been really positive. Mm-hmm. One of the challenges is to find a balance between all the different players that have an impact in this project. As you can imagine, we are touching all the different all the different levels of the distribution chain. Our founders, Nord, Boss, and ZF, they are really important. Manufacturers of products for the commercial vehicle trucks. And in other hand, we also have to deal with distribution of the spare parts. So with the wholesalers and all. Every of our founder has a different approach and a different mentality and a different policy. And then after this, we also need to deal with workshops, which at the end of the day are the target of our products and our services in our trucks. And also we need to deal with the end user, because the end user must be aware, and the end user must be informed about the new possibilities that they've got coming to our network in order to repair, maintain, or whatever they need with the commercial vehicles they have. So dealing with all these 4 different levels is a huge challenge, because as you can imagine, every step of the chain has its own interest and priorities and so on and so forth. So this is for me one of the biggest challenges.
How prepared are you to navigate the disruptive trends that are set to hit your business? Will you survive and win in the coming years? To understand your level of risk exposure and to help you avoid becoming a statistic of failure, take the free risk assessment here, www.dalcorsogroup.com, which will identify the gaps and how to navigate the risks. By taking the risk assessment, you get a chance to win a free 30-minute strategy session with Automotive Growth Expert Roberto Dal Corso. Roberto can help you identify an amount equivalent to 7% of your total annual sales that you are leaving on the table each year. To survive and win, take action now and visit www.dalcorsogroup.com.
Yeah. I can imagine, because with, the 3 founders that you have, be it, ZF, Bosch and Knorr, I mean, these are 3 of the key manufacturers for the automotive industry. Somewhere along the line, I think every single truck on the road has one, if not more, of their components.
Yes, correct.
So
Correct.
I think it's going to be quite difficult if they're all putting pressure on you of how to navigate that one internally, and who do you listen to more or less, or promote, or how, whose approach do you take? How does that get decided?
Well, having three fathers or 3 parents, you cannot say that you love one more than the other. So the 3 of them are completely engaged in this project, and we are really having support from them. The key point is always to have a clear definition of which are the responsibilities of each of the members of the teams, let's say. And for us, we have very clear the assignment given by the founders, which is to create a network of workshops to provide them the services they need to be proficient in multi-brand service. And after this, we are also in charge to maintain that network, to give additional value to that network on regular basis, and to promote the network at end user level. Having this in mind, everything is also easier for everybody.
Yeah. And I'm sure, with your 3 strong founding partners, they all bring some added value that is different to the other 2, which I think is a unique opportunity for you.
Yes. The most valuable and most interesting asset that they are providing, of course, is their technical knowledge about the commercial vehicle systems, let's say.
Yeah.
And each of them are really powerful on the area of expertise. Bosch is an important player in the diesel systems and injection diagnostics, electronics. Knorr bremse is very important and powerful with the brake systems and electronic systems for braking. And finally, ZF is one of the most important players in the market for transmission products. And all this knowledge, all this know-how combined is giving us, or putting us in a very important position in order to attract those best-in-class workshops willing to perform multi-brand service and maintenance on the market.
Yeah. And I mean, from a workshop side, as you mentioned, multi-brands, how has that industry changed over the last years, and what are some of the challenges that they see in the marketplace today?
Well, everyone within the commercial vehicle aftermarket level of workshop is really convinced that things have changed. Basically, in the last 10 years, the things have changed due to two main reasons. The first one is the improvement in the quality of the product. So the truck manufacturer has done an excellent job with developing and creating new trucks, especially since Euro 6. And that has a consequence, an impact in the aftermarket, because the number of entries of trucks in the workshops has been reduced dramatically during that time. And the second point, which is also affecting, is the fact that the fleets, the owner of the truck has changed the purchasing behavior, because they don't buy anymore only one single brand of trucks. You know, they usually split the total volume or the total capability of purchase between different manufacturers, and that has as a consequence that the workshop, especially the OEM workshop, is in risk of losing business for these two reasons. Some of those businesses are run by particular people or independent companies have decided to extend the portfolio and to diversify the portfolio by offering their expertise to other brands, like you can see on the market. Something you can see on the market now, and there is where we have found a possibility to provide the services that we have. Looking at the founders that we have and the amount of different systems that they produce, you can imagine that we have a lot of information, a lot of technical knowledge that we can provide to the workshop to really be able to extend their services to as much brands as possible, as much systems as possible within each of the brands, and therefore to let them the opportunity to gain what they have lost or to improve their business at many levels.
Yeah, and I mean, with your three founders, you guys are market leaders in each of your systems. And because you've come together, it certainly gives you added value to the workshops. You know, if you go get a braking system, a Knorr is virtually fitted on 65+% of all the heavy commercial vehicles. So in some instances, it's easier to work with you to get information than potentially going back to the truck manufacturer.
Exactly. And the key point is that we manufacture and we install our products in every single brand, not just one brand, but every single brand. So this is giving the workshop a really important source of information, no matter which is the brand, no matter which is the system. But on top of this, I have to say that even if Knorr, Bosch, and ZF are our founders and the base, the backbone of the services that we provide from a technical point of view, we don't limit ourselves to the knowledge they provide. Our network is supposed to be, and it will be, in fact, multi-brand and purely multi-brand, which means that we are able to provide information and to provide capability of diagnosis of systems that we do not manufacture. This is also a key point. We will not stop only in the knowledge or the know-how that is provided by the founders, which at the end of the day, as you said, is already very important.
Yeah.
But we will still provide also knowledge and capabilities for other brands, other systems, and with really the intention to be a network providing really multi-brand service.
No, that is very interesting, because I love the concept, and I think, it's going to be very successful across Europe as it gets slowly rolled out, because the value added that it brings for the end user in the workshops is something that potentially one manufacturer on its own cannot do, if I can put it that way.
Exactly, and if we agree that the market in the aftermarket has changed, and we really agree on the fact that the fleets no longer buy only one brand of trucks, and those trucks are having an excellent quality and they break down much less.
Yeah.
If we really agree on this, we immediately, if we are businessmen, we immediately need to look for solutions or to look for something that is helping to fill all the capability that we have in our business. And immediately the conclusion is that you need to go for the multi-brand business.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you look at the market nowadays, for a partner that is helping you on this, is helping you in giving you the multi-brand capability, not only at the technical level, but also from a sales point of view, marketing point of view, because this is something that we also do. Then the best solution today is all trucks.
Yeah. No, I think the concept is fantastic. And when you look at the workshops, I mean, obviously they now need to go with multi-brand, so people like yourself offer a fantastic platform for the information and the know-how. But what are some of the other challenges that they are facing?
You will not believe it, but after a couple of years really concentrated in visiting workshops, one of the major challenges they have is the people, the human resources. It's unbelievably true that it's very difficult for them to find the right staff, the right people, and it's something that sometimes, even in a country like Spain, in which you probably know that the unemployment rate is relatively high, it's difficult to find good professionals. And sometimes this is one of the reasons they put on the table in order to one of the reasons that is preventing them from growing sometimes.
Yeah.
Even the chance to grow, sometimes they are blocked because they cannot find the right people.
Wow, now that is interesting. And is it the right people that actually do the servicing and the work, the technical skilled people? Or is that also office and business and leaders at the level within the workshops?
It is a little bit of both, but I have to say that the most difficult part is always the technical part, technicians,
Yeah.
The mechanic. The commercial vehicle aftermarket is a really tough job in terms of being a mechanic, and it's very difficult today to find the right people.
Yeah.
At that level.
And from a people side, I mean, now also, as the population and you look at the workforce, it's getting younger, if I can put it that way. Not that we're old, and I'm not saying that, but when you look at it by, statistically, by the year 2020, almost half of the workforce is going to be this new millennium generation, which is very different to you and I, and even more different to some of the other generations.
This is completely true, one of the biggest challenges is the professional education, In this regard, I can mention, for example, the efforts that one of our founders is doing. Specifically, Bosch has programs in which they try to instruct young people in technical areas, not only in Germany but also in Spain and other countries, because this is one of the key points.
Yeah.
There will be also a change in the way we work and in the way that these technicians work in the future, because more and more the job will be related to electronics and to diagnostics, you know, and the balance between the amount of physical work you have to perform and the digital work you have to perform is going to be changing year after year with the new technologies that are coming.
Yeah, no, that is very true, and I think digitalization in general is changing the industry as a whole, whether it's at the workshop and you look at the technicians physically working on the trucks, or even just in terms of sales and marketing and how information is spread around. Digitalization is really changing the world as we know it today.
Yes, correct.
And you know, and to me it's interesting because as you have digitalization changing the world, you have the younger people coming into the world, and you know, you have kids, I know, and I have kids, and when you look at them, their technology skills, I mean, they've never known a world without internet access, without knowledge on your hand, because you've got your iPhone with you 24/7. So they are very different and accept technology a lot quicker than maybe some of the older people.
Yeah, you know, in some way, this is making me optimistic also about the future, because the new generations coming are really prepared. They are native digital, and they are really prepared for the challenges that we are going to face also in the automotive industry. Yeah. However, in the commercial vehicle aftermarket, there will be always part of the job that is going to be tough, it's going to be hard, because of the size of the parts, because of the way that you have to work in order to lift a truck and to solve problems on mechanical parts, which will be there at the end of the day forever, let's say.
Yeah. No, that is true. And I mean, have you seen any new ways that the workshops are looking at or trying to use digitalization to either get more customers or expand their businesses to, you know, the fleets and the end users?
In general, I have to say that our field is not really advanced in this area. Things are coming quicker from a technical point of view, which means that what I see in the future is obviously an improvement in the way we diagnose a truck. Mm-hmm. We will be able to do it remotely. We will be able to do it on demand with technologies that already exist for the passenger cars, like pass-through, for instance. This is something that is going to appear very soon in the commercial vehicle as well. But I have to say, and in particular, this changes between different markets. I mean, but in my region, in the southern part of Europe, I have to say that the workshops are not really well prepared in order to sell their own services.
Okay.
This is also one of the areas in which we try to help them in all tracks.
Yeah.
This is something that we do on their behalf by selling directly the network to the end users, and also we can do helping them specifically on a specific basis to each of the partners to help them to try to gain customers from a digital point of view, not only basic marketing techniques.
Yeah. Oh, that is very interesting. I didn't realize that's one of the services you're also offered, which is very nice.
Yes, and it's really something that is interesting because as I said, in this field we are not state of the art as a workshop. Let's say is not really prepared. The workshop is not really prepared to do this kind of things.
Yeah. And I mean, at the workshop level, do you see much consolidation going on? I mean, I know at distributor level, big distributors are getting stronger. Is a similar trend happening at the workshop level, or not really? You know, it's still very much the way it's been over the last 5-10 years.
I have to say that at the workshop level, there is no trend like this. Especially in the commercial vehicle field, there have been changes in the last years because the vehicle manufacturers have restructured their networks to a certain extent. Some of them they do it in a more radical way, let's say, reducing the number of service points. Some others they did it in a different way, but at the end of the day, there is no this consolidation, according to my understanding, as importantly as is happening in the wholesaler or distributor level.
Yeah. Because I mean, and you mentioned it that the OEMs are moving more into the aftermarket, moving direct, and some of them are being maybe more aggressive into the market, because that's also, I mean, how do you balance those? Because at the end of the day, I think I would envisage that the OEM is trying to get to the workshop and you trying to get to the workshop. Do you work together, or is there a little bit of competition with the OEMs trying to get to the workshops?
We at Soltrax, we don't really touch this area because we are purely a service concept.
Yes.
Which does not involve any spare parts sellout. Okay. So we don't really have contacts with the OEMs or in order to let's say to sell out spare parts or to promote the sellout of spare parts, because we as Soltrax we focus only on services. Only
on the services. So that's your niche into the market, away from the spares. Focus on the technical servicing of it.
Yeah, and obviously by doing this, we really believe that we will create a pull effect that is going to improve the positioning of the founder's product into the aftermarket.
Yeah, and then whether that pull effect brings it through the OE side or whether it brings it through the independent distributors and wholesalers, the founders will be happy with both.
Absolutely, yes. I have to say that the priority is always to push sales into the independent aftermarket, but at the end of the day, we want our products to grow on the market, and no matter where is the south.
Yeah. No. And just jumping one step down the chain, when you look at the end user, what are some of the difficulties that they are facing today in the marketplace and in the way the market is changing?
Today, what is difficult for a fleet is to find a one-stop shop. As I said, they have no longer just one brand of vehicles, and therefore, if a fleet has 50% of brand A and 50% of brand B, day to day or so far, they have to rely on the manufacturer A and manufacturer B to have everything sold.
Yeah.
On top of this, if you look at the load and the trailer that they have also, it is introducing another variable on the equation, So they really need and they really see interest in the possibility to have a partner that is able to repair whatever truck, whatever system within the truck, also the trailer, the buses, every commercial vehicle, even including the light commercial vehicles.
Yeah. No, that is something very interesting that you touch on, because a lot of, let's call it distributors, wholesalers, or even garages, I think, want to be a one-stop shop, as you say, but you don't feel that they're doing a best job and that could be done better. What are some of the things that you think that they could improve on?
You mean the wholesalers or the workshops in this case?
Both. No, I would agree, and that's why we don't see people doing as good a job that could be done, and there's certainly area for improvement. I think you are one of the value added to the garages from a technical side. You bring all the know-how and the services that go with it. Now it's just a matter of getting the spare parts at the right price, the right part at the right time.
Exactly. We concentrate on that. We concentrate on the technical expertise and know-how. We also promote the network from a sales and marketing point of view.
Yeah.
So we make clear to the market and to the end user that we are not only the best in terms of technical support, but also we are good in letting you know that we are, which is really, really important. And then the circle is closed with the distribution networks that our founders are providing, which have been developed during the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah, because I think, what you also mentioned there or refer to is the pull effect, because I think distributors are very good at pushing product down the chain to the garages, but then not necessarily helping them to gain additional customers or move the product off the shop floor.
Exactly. And our project is basically promoting this. Is promoting the fact that by having this knowledge, the workshop is going to be able to claim for our products from our original spare parts, and therefore it will create an additional business for the wholesalers.
Yes.
That they are giving service to the market.
Yeah. No, it's a very, very nice concept. If we change pace a little bit and I ask you a question, well, okay, I know you're passionate about people, I know you're passionate about the automotive industry. What are the passions outside of the automotive industry?
Very regular ones. I like sports. You know that even if I'm Spanish, I am a weird bird because I like rugby. So it's one of my passions, sports in general. I also like music, especially rock and roll.
Okay.
Like science. I really like science. My background is technological, and therefore I am really interested about science and how we apply science to the businesses and to the companies. I am also interested in astronomy, which is also something really, really nice.
Yeah?
Yeah. This is it.
I like it. I didn't realize that. I mean, I knew you were an engineer by background, but I didn't realize you were very much passionate also about technology and the sciences. So we'll have to call you professor from now on then.
You know, I was a professor at the university. I was an associate lecturer for 6 years at the university here in Madrid.
Yeah.
So also a little bit this background. It was a very long time ago, I have to say. But yes, I really love teaching more grown-ups rather than kids.
Yeah.
You know, some different. But I really like, and I think to be a sales guy, you have to have this passion of being able to communicate in a nice way, let's say.
Yeah. No. So I mean, this So the work you do today is absolutely perfect because it combines some of the education with the automotive industry and it blends it into one for you.
Absolutely, yes. And one key point as well is that it's given me the chance to learn a lot. You know that I was really if I am an expert in something, which is something very big to say, it was in relationship with the wholesalers and distribution networks, national and international levels. But since I joined the project of All Trucks, I am learning a lot about the needs and the requirements of the end users as well. Yeah. So the workshops and also the fleets, which is for me really valuable as well.
Yeah, I can imagine because, from, where you've been in the industry, you've seen all the different levels and even a greater understanding of what the end final user needs and wants. You put it all together in the process, and that certainly helps in whatever you're doing.
Yeah, it's really valuable also for the manufacturer of the systems.
Yeah.
The information that we get directly from our partners and directly from the end users is really important and valuable for our founders, for instance, in order for them as well to design the strategy at different levels, not only at independent aftermarket level, but also at design level, at OEM level. It's really interesting.
Yeah. No, it is. And I'm going to jump back a second because you mentioned rugby. In Spain, a football crazy nation. I mean, I know your son plays rugby. Is there because I don't know, a national rugby team for Spain?
Yes, and we are really fighting now to get qualification for the World Cup in 2019 in Japan.
Yeah.
We are close. We had a very tough game with Belgium 2 or 3 weeks ago. I have to say that it was a little bit weird one because we had a Romanian referee that we believe that was not having a very straight actuation, let's say. But yes, we are trying to get qualified for the first, actually for the second time in our history to the World Cup.
Oh, that's fantastic. So are we going to see your son one day playing for Spain?
I wish he could. Yes.
Well, you never know. I'm quite sure with you as a role model, he can only do well.
Well, if I'm a role model, I hope that I will be for other areas rather than sports, because I was not that good in terms of sports, right?
No, I was more referring to you being a role model because you're passionate about people and passionate about what you do. And if you can transmit and inspire him to be passionate about what he's interested in, you can only be a great role model.
Absolutely, yes. I really need. This is also a personal question, but I really need believe in what I'm doing. If I really believe in what I'm doing, usually I am very self-confident that we can really get it.
Yeah. No, that's how I've known you. You've always been professional, self-confident, and absolutely spot on. Paco, I don't want to take up more of your time. I can only say thank you so much for joining us. As always, it's been a pleasure talking to you and learning from you.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Robbie. I hope it was of help.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I hope that you have enjoyed and found value in watching this interview. If you want to learn more about the leading disruptive automotive trends impacting the industry, check out www.dalcorsogroup.com. I encourage you to share it with colleagues that will appreciate great industry insights. Join us tomorrow for more experts from around the world.